You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Happy Memorial Day, or I guess Memorial Night. I don't know. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day. Let's put it that way. Hope you all stayed safe. There's no reason you shouldn't stay safe on Memorial Day. I mean, it's just, celebrating those that gave their lives for this country. And then you fire up the grill. I mean, those are the two things you have to do today. There's no reason you should be getting yourself in trouble. No need to be adding stuff to it. You know what I mean? But all right, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. We don't have any new callers today, so let's hit the buttons and turn up the volume, etc., and here we go.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay.
What's up?
And one thing I wanted to say about the ESPN and the cable providers is that a lot of people are cable cutters. So one problem that they have is that a lot of the really intense viewers they all left, and now you're left with a lot of the older people that casually watch sports. I'm not saying that none of them are intense viewers, or intense fans, but they're not out looking for DVOA stats. You know what I mean? Yeah. For the most part, and those kind of people are going on the internet. They're doing their research, and or they're listening to podcasts. And so I think that's a big reason why you get these takes that are ridiculous, because it's just to get a little attention.
So one of the problems when people call in is they reference something, and I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about. My mind is going to a particular topic, but I might not be talking about the right thing exactly. However, I'll bring it up anyways. I kind of think what you're saying is right, and it's also a dying breed. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just biased because I'm on this side of it. I've never been that guy. Even back in the day, you had the sports people. I'm sure a lot of you were those people. I had roommates in college. ESPN was just on all day, and it was just the same. It was like an hour of content, and it looped for 24 hours. It was the same thing. It was a bunch of highlights, and it just went over and over and over and over and over. And then there'd be one show that was a debate show. Now it's all debate shows, Anyways, I do think because social media exists, because YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and X and all these different things exist, TikTok, you've got it. Again, it's very similar to the legacy news media. You look at the demographics of the people that watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I'm not talking about clips on social media that we all come across that are probably taken out of context and whatever else. I'm talking about just sit down, turn on the channel, and watch it. They're 70 years old is the median age for some of these channels. It's absurd. But I do think that these stations are kind of trying to find themselves a little bit, because you had the journalists, and then you had well, let's just get a bunch of coaches and players on here to argue about stuff. And then you've got sort of the Pat McAfee thing, where he had his own big deal, and they're well, let's just go pay him to come over here. Now he's a former player, but at the same time, it's well, we don't know what to do, and he obviously found his own success, so let's just buy him out. Not that they actually bought him out, but I feel they're trying to figure out, how do we pivot? And the point that I had made on possibly something that you're not even talking about is that I just don't know how you could possibly compete with the level of overhead. The amount of money they're paying these guys in the studios, in the locations that they put the studios, that they house these $1 million contracts. Yet you've got this lone Packers guy like Grossi, who just turns on a camera in his back bedroom or whatever, wherever he shoots it out of. Basically zero overhead, How could you possibly compete with that? And I think a lot of these guys really struggle or are going to struggle in the future because I don't know if they know how to do it. I mean, this is what they've always done, is these big media organizations. And maybe bad takes are just all they can come up with right now. Like, let's just let them say nonsense because it goes viral and then we can kind of recoup some of the money we're losing. I don't know. I just, if I was put in charge of ESPN, I'd be looking around at this building and everything else and be like, why are we spending all this money? Why do we have these insanely expensive cameras and like 6 camera people in this giant studio? Why do we have 7 people in a control room? Why are we paying all these people? You don't need to do all of this. It's basically free to create content. We don't have to do any of this anymore.
And you have to overhype it basically, and it's also what's leading to their death. Because they're doing this on a smaller base, and they're deciding not to cut any of their costs.
Exactly.
And that's their number one problem. Like you're saying, they're hundreds of millions of dollars a year they spend. Like, why are these personalities even that much? It feels like an industry standard where they could pay some of these people 10% of what they're paying them.
Right.
And these personalities would...
Well, look at how many guys are doing it on their own anyways. We're seeing all kinds of guys that are, I mean, maybe they jump on like Wisconsin sports radio, some of these guys, but some of them, they start their own little YouTube channels. I mean, Kurt Benkert. I know he's not as big as some of the other guys, but it's not like you've got some of these guys as Hall of Famers. I mean, some of these former football players are not necessarily, I mean, it's not Peyton Manning, and some of these guys are like Acho. What did Acho even do? I mean, let's see. He played for the Browns in 2012. Then he was on like a practice squad for 2 different teams in 2013. Then he played for the Eagles 2013, 14, 15. And according to PFF, in 2013, he played 24 total snaps. In 2014, just 265 and had a 59 PFF grade. 2015, he didn't even play. I mean, this is not some superstar that, I'm not going to say he's not deserving because, obviously that's, the point is, like, if you're just trying to find former football players, a guy like Acho, as far as his credentials, as a basically practice squad inside linebacker, guys like this start, first of all, I don't even know if anybody would watch his YouTube channel. I mean, I'm trying to think of a comparable, so he's a 6th round pick. I mean, he's not at the level of Isaiah McDuffie. You know who it's kind of similar to, and he has a podcast now, so it kind of makes sense? Equanimeous St. Brown. Equanimeous, and I think Equanimeous might have done more, I don't know. Equanimeous was a 6th round pick who played a little bit for this team, went to another team, and now has his own podcast that really the only reason anybody listens to it is because his brother's a superstar. But Equanimeous could do a podcast. I mean, he's doing a podcast. How many billions? He's not getting paid. How much would a studio need to pay Equanimeous St. Brown to come over and do a job? If ESPN said, we're done with this, we're casting all the stuff off, and we're going to find the next Acho that doesn't cost, how much are they paying Acho? So FS1 is who he's with now. ESPN prior to that. Not publicly available, but likely 6-figure, potentially reaching into the low 7 figures. Could you imagine starting a YouTube channel and being like, and then going to an investor and saying, here's the plan. I want to start a YouTube channel, and Equanimeous St. Brown is going to be on the YouTube channel with us. Okay, what do you need from me? I need $1 million per year to pay Equanimeous St. Brown as a salary. Bro, these guys go on YouTube channels for free all the time. They're just screwing around. It's such a broken and stupid business model. These guys are dying to get on YouTube and talk football. You're ESPN or FS1. You have a reputation. You can basically offer them to just come on and talk football. Just as a like, I mean, look what how much does Pat McAfee pay football players to come on his show and talk football? $0? I mean, he's got people that he employs, but people come on his show and talk football all the time. He doesn't pay them to do it. He has Aaron Rodgers come on. He doesn't get paid. Stupid business model, dude. And they con these advertising fees out of people. It's just crazy. And I think the only reason they get those is because cable has these. The whole thing is just a giant scam. So when you buy a cable package, there's this revenue sharing going on. I think everything should have to stand on its own. But then so many channels would die. I understand that. And guess what? In 1994, maybe that would be a problem. Because we'd be back to like 5 channels again, like in the old days. In 2025, guess what? I don't care if a channel can't stand on its own. Because there's all this other stuff. Oh no, the Outdoors channel won't make it. I guess I'll have to go to YouTube and find 600,000 outdoor channels. Frickin' care. Stupid.
Still take the job. So why are they paying them 10 times what they have to? Like,
Exactly.
we're talking like, doesn't Stephen A. Smith make like he got like $100 million contract or something?
Yeah, why? For what? For what? Why are you paying? This whole thing is like a giant Ponzi scheme. Is there anybody on planet Earth that thinks that he's worth that amount of money? That his opinion is that valuable? He's a clown. Stephen A. Smith is a clown. His opinions are just as good as some random dude off of Twitter. That is to say, sometimes coherent and sometimes stupid. But never have I listened to Stephen A. Smith and thought, wow, that is deeply profound. I learned something today. I've never learned something from Stephen A. Smith. He's not a frickin' physicist. He's some random dude that yells his opinion. Oh, so are you. Exactly. Guess how much somebody's paying me to do this? $0. That's why I was able to do this for so many years, making no money. You know why? Because I had no overhead. It cost me nothing to do this. Everything was free. I woke up early in the morning. I put on a broken headset that was gifted to me. I used a free video or audio editing software that I still use to this day. And I uploaded my podcast. Excuse me, I think I was paying maybe $10 a month to host my podcast. It's a $10 a month hobby. But the point is, let people decide for themselves. It's kind of like back in the day when you turn on the radio station and it was kind of like that's how you determine who the good bands are. But at the same time, who's voting for these people? Who's deciding? It's like, well, the stations are deciding. And they make all this money because they're on the radio, but they're on the radio because the radio decides to put them on the radio. It's like, at what point is there sort of a feedback loop between people deciding what music they like? It's like, well, they sell a bunch of tickets. Right, because that's the station, that's the band that's on the radio. Now, today, a ton of bands or people or artists or whatever being discovered online on YouTube, they're all getting famous that way. Good. That's how it should be. I'm not saying there weren't some phenomenal bands that were discovered and put on the radio. It's just such a stupid system that we don't need to do anymore. I don't need you to build a $1 billion studio and then overpay these people to come out with bad opinions. And then all these major brands, so I don't know how you're conning all these people to put advertisements on your stuff. That's incredible to me, that these major brands are still being conned into paying the amount of money that they are to advertise on television. That is what's crazy. And that's what needs to die. Anyways, I'll shut up now.
It's crazy. Like, coaches and NFL players are making more in a dying media than they were when they were playing.
Right.
Also crazy. And the other thing I wanted to mention was about one more stab at the at the playoff thing is I felt like it was kind of lost in translation. The thing about the divisions is that they're all set up with a schedule. And so, like, everybody in the division plays the same schedule. I'm not talking about each other. I'm talking about all the other teams. And so...
Close to, not exactly the same.
Like, the NFC North plays 2 other divisions or whatever. The NFC South plays 2 different divisions. And those divisions aren't equal. So... yeah, that has a big influence on many, many games throughout the contract or throughout the season. And then there's 2 games that are different in the division, and that's where you get your parity, because then the 4th place team in a division will play the 4th place team the other division. So that's where you get some parity. But anyways, I'm out of time. Have a good one. Bye.
So I think what you're saying is that it's the NFC North is competing against each other because not only do they play each other, but they play a similar schedule. And so we'll see having played the same teams, who comes out on top. I'm guessing is kind of what you're saying. Again, they don't exactly play the same teams. It's pretty similar, but I guess I could kind of see what you're saying. If, again, I'm assuming what you're pointing to is the idea that, yes, the NFL is structured in such a way that it is the NFC North playing just against the NFC North. And that's, I guess, fine. I still don't think, for me, that doesn't move the needle. Only because I have never viewed the NFL that way. I don't think most people view the NFL that way. I could be wrong. Maybe this is how most people view it, and this would be a major transformation in the NFL. For me, it's no different whatsoever. You wouldn't need to change a single thing, keep everything the exact same. We're just going to kick out the frickin' 8-9 team and put in the 10-win team and call it a day. But again, I'm not even really arguing against people that if that's how you view it, then yeah, I would be opposed to it too. If that's how I view it, and it would be this major transformation in how the NFL works. It does not move the needle for me at all. But I do get what you're saying. All right, I guess we'll take a break. Kind of long-winded there, but we'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, it's true. Part 2, I guess. I forgot one major thing I was going to call about with the Cellcom issue.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who has Cellcom, if you restart your phone or if you hit the airplane mode for a couple of seconds, turn it off and then turn it back on, turn it on and then turn it back off. That restored services for a lot of people, including me, where I think now I'm getting texts and I think I can send texts to non-Cellcom users. And I can also make calls to non-Cellcom users. I don't think I can receive any yet. So if you have Cellcom, try turning the airplane mode on for a couple seconds and then back off, and that might help. All right, bye.
I literally have no idea what you're talking about. What happened now? What's going on with Cellcom? This is news to me.
Hey, Ryan, Denver from California. I want to give you some good bullet points for when you talk about Caleb Williams and the offensive line he had, because ESPN pass block win rate had them at 16th for pass blocking win rate. PFF had them 21 pass blocking efficiency. Sharp Football had them 17th in pass block win rate. So remember that, okay? 16th, 17th, and 21st are the three pretty solid metrics for how well they were at pass blocking. So just remember that, okay? If somebody's like, oh, it's just like stats. It's like, well, I got 3 different ones, and they all can't be wrong, right? So here's your bullet points. Don't forget, 16, 17, 21. Just hammer that home, all right? And if you want to double check my numbers, I looked at that over the last few weeks. I just checked Sharp Football, but that's your numbers. Go ahead and share that with the world, because I don't have a microphone, but you do. Make sure everybody knows. Make a graphic and put a clown thing on top of Caleb Williams and shout it to the rooftops. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, and the Bears have never had, even through the Justin Fields era, I don't know that they've ever had like a top 5. I think they've a couple of years had a pretty good PFF thing or whatever. But it's never explained the problem. Like Justin Fields has been sacked 10 times more than anybody else. I'm just making that up. But it's the metrics are insane, the amount of times he gets sacked. And the assumption is just automatically it's the offensive line. Well, that doesn't track. That just does not track. It doesn't line up. And so, yeah, if you improve the offensive line, you're going to improve the pressures and the sacks and all that, but it's not going to be 100%, because obviously some of the offensive line problems do not explain the sack problems. If you have the 16th best offensive line, then you should be sacked the 16th least, or pressured, or whatever the case may be. It should line up, and it doesn't. So, nothing against improving your offensive line, but if you think that's going to solve the problem in its entirety, you're wrong, and you're lying, and you're just fooling yourself. I will not sing sticks. I will not sing sticks. I will not sing sticks.
Yeah, just listening to your response about my Mike McCarthy comment. Just what his goals for the season were. Steve from Alaska is very right. You don't listen. So it's just kind of like we calling and trying to participate, and then you bitch at us and gaslight us. I was listening to the pod when you flat out said, I've never heard a coach say winning the division was a goal.
No, you didn't hear me say that. The only thing that matters, you're the one gaslighting here, Brambo.
That's why I called and I said that. And then after you play my call, you immediately go on a diatribe about how winning the division's good. Yes, win the division.
Listen, come on. So you genuinely, even if I said that, it obviously was a mistake. You're telling me that you believe my position is that nobody has ever thought winning the division was a good thing. Therefore, we shouldn't change the playoff structure because nobody actually cares about winning the division. Have I ever, you go find me saying that anywhere. I'll give you $100. Find me saying that winning the division is not even a goal, which is what you're saying that I said.
So, I don't know. I'm just going to stop because I'm frustrated.
Because the statement, I believe it was you that you made, is literally the only thing that matters in the regular season. Here's let me back up. What I said was, I've never heard anyone say the only thing that matters is winning the division. You called in and said, yes, literally the only thing that matters is winning the division. And I said, I've never heard anyone say the only thing that matters is winning the division. And you came up with an example of McCarthy saying that it's a goal to win the division. And I said, okay, a goal, yes, but not the only goal. It's not the only thing that matters. And now you're saying I'm gaslighting you. So let me just be very clear. Let's just assume you're right. And I said that winning the division doesn't matter. I stand corrected. I misspoke. I'm pretty sure I gave tons of examples, specifically citing why I do think the division rivalries matter, why I do think winning the division is good, why I like having the rivalries, and the fact that I've defended the change because it would not dissipate the rivalry at all, which I brought up because I don't want it to go away. But let's assume none of that is real. Then I very simply misspoke. But none of this even matters, because the fact of the matter is, you would have to demonstrate what I meant to say, apparently. Pretty sure I did say, but let's just say what I meant to say, which is that you would have to demonstrate the only thing that matters is winning the division, which, again, I am 90% positive you called in and said, yes, the reason for playing the division, or the season, is to win the division. There's a difference between saying the reason, the only reason, and a reason, a goal. And again, if you can find me saying that I don't think it's a goal at all to win the division, then I stand corrected. Or I very obviously misspoke, and that's because sometimes I do say things that I didn't really mean to say when I'm going off on a tangent. But I mean, you have to be. I mean, if you heard me say that, give me a break. You couldn't think to yourself that obviously he said something he didn't mean to say. I'm willing to bet almost anything. I never, ever said that. Not gaslighting. I never said it. I said it's not true that the only reason you play is to win the division. The only thing that matters. That's why. I mean, just listen to the examples that I gave. What about this? What about this? What about this? Why do we care about playing the Bears when the division isn't even on the line anymore? Why do we continue to win football games if the division is well within our reach? That doesn't mean the division doesn't matter. It just means it's not the only thing that matters. So again, if you can find examples of people saying it matters, it's not the only thing, but it matters, that's fine. I agree. I agree with Mike McCarthy. Winning the division matters. It's not the only thing that matters. And again, I think obviously you and a lot of other people that have called in do view the NFL that way. That's fine. And it makes sense you wouldn't want to change the playoff structure because you've always viewed the NFL season as just a big competition between divisions. And then those divisions go on to battle each other, which again, I think I would be, I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, I would be annoyed by the wild card. I don't understand the point of the wild card teams. Kind of defeats the spirit of the thing a little bit. But the divisions then go on to battle each other, and then the AFC or the NFC and the AFC go and battle each other. I'm just telling you, I've never viewed it that way, and I've never heard anyone call it would have sent off alarm if people called in with like this weird perspective. I've never. I guess maybe I've just never noticed that so many people viewed the NFL that way, because I've never viewed it that way. But it does make sense to me, if you view it that way, that you wouldn't want the playoff structure seeding changes. However, I absolutely never said, and again, I will $100 standing offer, if you can prove to me that my official opinion was that winning the division doesn't matter. I'm not gaslighting you. I just never said that because I never believed that. I'm not an expert in a lot of things, but I am an expert in my own opinion. And I've never had that as an opinion. So, yeah, I mean, this whole debate isn't really going to go anywhere because, I mean, I'm sorry you guys haven't been able to convince me, and apparently that's very frustrating to some people. But you're allowed to disagree. And again, there are certain ways of viewing things where I could understand if I held that view, I would be where you are, but I don't. For 30 some odd years, I've viewed the NFL in one way. So you can't just make a couple phone calls and be like, you know what, you're right. And you should be able to see from my perspective, if you viewed it that way, that does make sense that you'd want to change it. But I don't view it that way, so I don't want to change it. Seems pretty straightforward to me. But let's not bring in weird stuff about you said something that you didn't say, therefore, like it's silly.
Hey, this is Nico in Idaho. So listening to you debate about the way the NFL was thinking about changing the playoff seeding. I'm kind of...
To be clear, it doesn't sound like the NFL was considering it at all. The Detroit Lions were like, hey, we should do this, and then they withdrew it, which to me means the entire NFL looked at them and said, get this crap out of here, and they're like, I apologize, and then withdrew it. So it doesn't even seem like a thing that's probably going to happen, at least not in the near future, because I saw very little support. Like I said, this whole thing kind of started because I was shocked to see how much people hated it. And then I brought it up on the show, and all of you guys hate it. And the NFL hates it. And everybody hates it. So I'm very obviously in the minority. I get that. I'm just laying it out there why we are where we are.
On both sides.
No.
Like you just...
Nico! I thought we just came to a nice little conclusion of this thing where it's like you guys are over there and I'm over here and that's fine. You can't now straddle the line, Nico. Pick a side.
Mentioned at the end of the podcast today. You like change. I don't like change. Change is bad.
Yeah.
You know. But the NFL is always changing.
Yeah.
And typically when it changes, it doesn't change for the better. And I've made this comment before. They make changes based on sheer profit alone, and they don't give a crap about
sure.
You know, us original OG fans that are still with them, and have made them what they are. They just want to go overseas and blah, blah. They just want more and more and more. And it's kind of a bummer. And in listening to all these debates, I've kind of, you know, oh, that guy's right. Oh, Ryan's right. Oh, that guy's right. Oh, Ryan's right. In the end, I don't think it's going to matter a ton.
Well, that was where I kind of felt stupid because we get so far into this, and then when I start thinking of examples, the seeding almost never changes. Because there's 7 teams that get in, there's almost never going to be an example of a team that would have got in or wouldn't have got in because the 3 different wild cards are such a catch-all that it's so far down the line, it's very rare. So again, I'm kind of hung up on like the 8 and 9 team. That's the one example. That doesn't even happen every year. It's a once every 2 to 3 years thing. I would rather they don't get in. But it is a minor thing other than like who gets home field advantage. But even that, it's probably going to be the exact same teams, and the seeding is also going to be very similar, right? Because the team with the bad record that does get in because they won their division is going to be the 4th seed. The lowest they could be is a 7. So it's not that big of a difference. So it's more of it seems like the argument has more to do with like fundamentally how you view the NFL than actually changing very much. Not a ton is going to change.
You know, you're right. 100 years ago, there was, 4 divisions? I think. I don't remember, but you won the division, you got in the playoffs, and that's kind of where that started. And as you add more teams, stuff changes. You know, we didn't have 32 teams 100 years ago. It's like in a few years we're probably gonna have like 34 teams, right?
We added a ton of games too.
I think they used to have like a 9-game season. You know, now it's fucking 17. It's gonna go up, but
Right, and the point that I was making about that is, as you do that, you have to play more different teams, and as you're playing more and more different teams, and you're playing the percentage of times you play within your division is a lower and lower percentage. It feels as though it would matter less. Not the rivalry necessarily, which is based largely on regional proximity as well as history, as well as how often you play each other in a year.
And I know that every once in a while an 8-8 team makes it to the playoffs because they won the division, the crappy division. I didn't know that Tampon Bay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call them Tampon Bay. I didn't know the Yuccaneers, got in with an 8-win record recently and kicked out the Sea Chickens. I know back before New England was a power.
And that's the other thing is the 8-win team that gets in, arguing against myself, they're going to kick out a 9-win team. So, they're not going to, I suppose there's a chance they could kick out like a 10-win team or even an 11-win team. It would be tough. You'd have to really stretch the math to get to a point where that would happen. There'd have to be a ton of, or maybe just one really good division, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know how you'd get there. So just kind of sticking in line with the whole, how much would actually change? I still think from a standpoint of what makes the most sense, I would stay with where I'm at. As far as how much is actually going to change, it's not that big of a difference.
Well, that division was just occasionally like the Dolphins would be good, but then until Belichick got there, there was just 4 crappy teams.
Right.
And yeah, I remember one year the Jets went to the playoffs at 8-8, and I was like, wow, that's horrible. Because I think that year there was a 10-win team that didn't make it, But anyways, but I think this change might be for the better. And I think Garrett mentioned something about, a division of good teams beating themselves up, which I think that's kind of a holdover from college. Because in college, maybe not now, but just a few years ago when 4 used to be just 2. 10 years ago, if you were a 1-loss team, you were out of the national championship contention.
Right.
Boom, you're done. So if you're playing in the SEC, and you beat Alabama and Auburn and Florida, then you lose to Tennessee, you're done, right?
Right.
And every once in a while, a one-win team would sneak in, but it didn't happen. And now that they've bumped it up to as many teams in the playoffs as they have, that thing has kind of gone away.
Part 2 for Nico.
Well, I wasn't even paying attention. Usually I'm look at Time Boy. Anyways, yeah, ever since they've added more playoff teams in college, that whole thing has gone out. So it's about it too, because every once in a while, what if 3 years from now the Packers or the NFC North is the bad division and we have 8 wins and we get into the playoffs and we bounce out a team with 10, 11 wins? I won't mind then, but I don't think that happens. That's happened so little. It'll probably never happen to us. So I'm all for it. If it means an 11-win team will kick out a divisional winner, because you're right, the divisions, yeah, it's cool you won your division, that's great and all, but the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. And I don't think an 8-8 team is going to win. Or I keep saying 8-8 because I'm stuck to 16 games. I don't think even a 9-7 team I think has a chance. And I know we won it with 10 when we were at 10-6, but that was a long time ago when 10 wins was almost a staple. Oh, you get 10 wins, you're assured a playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Except in rare occurrences when the Jets would get in at 8-8. But also, I think someone mentioned, if you're in a good division, you guys beat each other up. Yeah, that's right. I was talking about that last phone call. So in college, that was a thing. I don't think it's a thing anymore. And I think last year's NFC North was a perfect example. We had one team with 14 wins, one team with 13 wins, and one team with 11 wins, us. And we could have had 12 wins had we even played the entire game against the Bears. So let's say we beat the Bears because we maybe needed to. Obviously, we didn't need to. But even then, that was a division with 3 playoff, teams in it, and they all made it. because we beat each other up, but then we beat the crap out of everyone else. So I don't know. I just, like I said, I hate change, and the NFL doesn't typically change stuff for the better. So if they do this and it's for the better, because really the worst thing is that some okay, I'll say 8 and 9, 9 and 7, when a number 9 and 7 team gets in, when there's a 12-win team, in some other division that's not getting in, that's horrible. You win 11, 12 games, you should be in the playoffs. And if you have,
and I think that's kind of again, in practice, is a 8-win team ever going to knock out a 12-win team? I don't think that's ever going to happen. I'd have to try to sit down, pen to paper, and say, is there even a scenario where that could happen? With 3 wild cards, you'd have to have, you got to figure on top of the division winners. So that would be 0 teams in the division where the 8-win team won 12 games, right? 0, because otherwise they wouldn't have won the division. So you only have 12 more teams to work with. You'd have to have 7 12 or better win teams out of 12. I don't think that's possible, because it would have to be the other 3 divisions winners plus the 3 wild card spots, and then 1 guy that didn't make it with 12. That's 7 total. But I think for me, it's just the fact that it, in theory, based on how we want the playoffs to work, we would be okay with that. And I'm saying that no, I'm not. I don't think that thought makes sense. But again, in practice, I don't think it would ever happen. I think it's rare for an 8 and 9 team to get in, and when they do, again, they're probably knocking out a 9 and 8 team, who also probably is not super deserving. So, again, in theory, I think it should work the other way. Is it worth 4 days of super angry, yelling debates, and Bramble's never going to call back again? Probably not.
if you have 8 or 9 wins and you just win a crappy division, that's cool. Put your tail between your legs, go back home, wait for next year, try to win at least double digits, So that's my thoughts. Ultimately, doesn't really matter. And I had some comments too on that thing you had with the guy who was giving you all the examples of why we should be cap friendly, and I couldn't understand it. Because even his thing is well, once you get a good guy, you got to pay him money. What do you just dump a guy just because he becomes good? How are you going to win a championship? Anyways, I'm just going to say go Pack, go.
Yes, another example of I'm not sure what that was about. I do want to talk tomorrow a little bit about that if we have time. We'll see. I think we got some media stuff going on today, so we'll see. But there was an interesting thing with, just kind of going off of my own thing here since you mentioned salary cap, but it kind of goes in line with these constant changes, and I'm kind of interested to see, I don't know if it's going to be worth all the fighting again, but where people would fall on this, because it sounds like they're considering making some salary cap changes. And I know, again, kind of opposed to changes, but at the same time, kind of interested in exploring it a little bit. There's no real specifics right now, but it's kind of interesting. And I think as Packer fans, we almost would be kind of in favor of it too, because it has more to do with how the salary cap's constantly being manipulated. And I think Packer fans are generally more conservative types, where it's just pay the money up front. No more pushing money to the back end. No salary cap gymnastics where it's all the, you know what I mean? We're very Ted Thompson-y, where it's just make sure the salary cap and the cash are the same. Here's how much money you get. And then it goes up a little bit every year, but the cap and the cash are going to line up and everything's going to be fine. And that's being completely thrown out the window. And even now the Packers are saying we can't really do things that way anymore if you want to be competitive. And the change would kind of give us the ability to go back to that. But anyways, that'll be for hopefully tomorrow we can kind of talk about that. All right, let's take a break. We got some Uncle Rico, and if we have time, Steve in Alaska.
Yo, Brian, it's your Uncle Rico.
What's up, Mike?
I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. I only usually have 2 cents. I want to put in 2 cents, but I usually only have about 1 cent's worth of information.
Well, just put in whatever you got, man. We're good with whatever you got.
But anyways, Packy, I think it was, is that who it is, called in, said the little reason for the regular season is to win your division. I concur. I think that's the goal. You want to beat the Bears twice. You want to beat the Lions twice. You want to beat the Vikings twice. I mean, yeah, and I concur with you too. I agree that
and again, look, I don't want to get too hung up on it. I'd like to put a bow on this. I'm just conceding that this is how you guys view it, but for the sake of clarity, how important is that overall? In other words, 100% means it's literally the only thing that matters. 0% would be we could lose all of those and it wouldn't matter to me. For me, it's above 50%. It's more important than other games. Number one, because of the rivalry, but also because of the tie-breaking structure and whatnot of how things work. It's more important. It's more important that you win NFC games than AFC games. It's more important than you win NFC North games than just your average NFC game. So I acknowledge that. Now, part of that is circular because that's the way that the system is set up now. So, of course, it's more important. The question has more to do with should it be than is it, because it very obviously is. But that would be kind of the clarifying issue that I have. When you're saying it's your goal, is it the only goal? Is it a goal? You could say it's the most important goal if you want, but I would still disagree with that, because if it's the most important goal, if those are the only 6 games you win, was that a successful season? I don't think anybody would say yes. And you very likely did not win the division despite beating the other teams in the division, and you will not be going to the playoffs, and it will be a failure of a season. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be combative about it. I'm just saying when you say it's the goal, it's very obviously not the only goal, right? So it's not the goal, it's a goal. It's an important goal. And I don't disagree with that. Which is why, we all get jacked up about Bears, Lions, and Vikings games more so than any other game. But that still doesn't really get us all the way to the end where we discuss how the playoff seeding should be.
The regular season is to get into the playoffs any way possible.
Yeah.
Backwards, sideways, however it works to get into the playoffs.
By the way, you can get into the playoffs losing to the people in your division. So when you say that there's any way possible to get in, I would agree with that. I would prefer we do that by sweeping our division. But if we could go 0-6 in the division and end up with a 12 or 11-6 record and go to the playoffs, would that be preferable? Preferable to not going, yes.
And get crazy from there, but you want to see that Packers winning the division,
Yeah.
22 years in a row type of thing.
Absolutely.
That's a thing. So, yeah, you don't want to lose the division and make it into the playoffs, and unless you're going to win the Super Bowl, then it doesn't matter if you won your division or not. But
well, again, there are layers to this. Ideally, you want to win the Super Bowl, right? You want to win the division, number 1 seed, and win the Super Bowl. But let's just assume that the world isn't just perfect and you went undefeated the entire year and all that kind of stuff. There's levels and layers and multiple goals that you can set. I'd like to be the number 1 seed. If we're not, then I'd at least like to win the division and get in. If not, I'd at least like to be a wild card team with a bunch of wins and be good and all that. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'd like to do a lot of these different things. If we can't win the division, I would at least like it to be like last year where we only didn't win because these other teams were so good, but we're still like a however many games we won and a wild card and all this stuff. And so, yeah, there are multiple goals. But when we say, like, what is the goal of the regular season? If you could give one answer, and it has to be the most accurate answer you can give, what is it? I can tell you my answer is not win the division, because there are instances where we can win the division and it's not a bad thing. It's still a good thing. You won the division. You're obviously going to the playoffs. But I think there are better answers. It's definitely not sweep the division, because that could even be worse. It's probably not. Most of the time, if you sweep the division, you're probably very good and all. But I'm just saying, again, if you win 6 games all year, and that's obviously not good. What is the number 1 goal you'd like to achieve through the regular season? It's to have the highest record to get the number 1 seed. You want to win the most amount of games that you can in the regular season. It's not just the NFC North. Like, it's a very limiting goal. Like, I want to win as many games as possible in the NFC North. Like, no, just leave off the last part. I want to win as many games as possible. We don't need the limiting factor of NFC North. It's unnecessary. So for like everything you could say about the NFC North, just take off NFC North and it's even more true. You know what I'm saying? Win the games in your division. No, just win all the games. Isn't that more the goal? Yeah, but the NFC North games are more important. Yeah, I agree. But the other ones are still important. They're still very important, in fact. You know what I'm saying? So this is where, again, I think it's kind of getting confused where it's like, I'm saying all of the games are important. That does not mean that I'm saying the NFC North games are not important. That would be impossible for all the games to be important, and also the NFC North games are not important. I'm just saying let's stop putting the NFC North limit on things. They're extremely important. They're the most important, all that. But the Eagles game is important. The Giants game is important. All the games we're playing this year are important. It's kind of like when the Bears every year are like, just beat the Packers, just beat the Packers, just beat the Packers. And I get that for that pathetic franchise, winning 2 games and both of them being the Packers probably would be a winning season. But they're still a crappy garbage team if all they did was win 2 games. And for good reason, they would not be sent to the playoffs. Despite them thinking that they should be given the Lombardi Trophy for that, we would all acknowledge that actually that's not good enough. And that actually doesn't even make you better than the Packers. If you won 2 games and the Packers went on to win 10, it's just kind of a fluky thing. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like, if you get into the playoffs and you don't win a single game, who gives a hoot, right? Sneaking in doesn't help if you can't do anything when you get there. But anyways, yes, I agree. Win the division. Beat your rivals. Be the hated team. But hopefully progress far into the playoffs. All right, then. Rico out.
Yeah, I mean, that is the way it's set up now, I guess. Again, from my perspective, it's more a question of should it be that way. But for a lot of people, it obviously is. So that's fine, I guess.
Yo, Ryan, your Uncle Rico.
What's up?
I just had a thought. I don't have many good ones, but I like this one. So anyways, like, is it in basketball or some other college sports where they have like a kind of a tournament before they have a tournament? Like maybe in basketball before they get to the March Madness stuff, the Final Four and all that.
Something. I don't know how
goes
that
on in
works.
basketball, don't they have like a Big Ten tournament or something? Maybe that's what they should do in football. You play your regular season like it is now, however they figure it out throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, the last so many games should be like after, don't change anything, but then, however they can work it out where you play off your division to see who goes into the playoffs. Bears against the Packers against the, Bears Lions, Bears Vikings, everything. I don't know. That's a lot of games. I don't know math, but somehow that'd be kind of cool. Then like, okay, you won your divisional tournament. Now you get to go into the playoffs. Maybe we should not even play the Bears, Lions, or Vikings until the end of the season, and then the last however many games that is, 6, 9, I don't know math. However many that takes to determine the divisional leader. Something, and the games leading up to that, I don't even know. It's just a thought. My brain is green and gold jello. Rico out.
Saved it at the end. That's kind of how this season is, right? I mean, I don't know if I understand what we're even talking about, but just playing along with it. This season is a whole lot of, at the end, it's just a big NFC North, like, pre-playoff. No, Uncle Rico, I think we've all just agreed. Let's just keep it the way it is. All right, let's just leave it. It's fine. We're not changing anything. Forget it. Stupid idea. We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
Yo, Brian, it's your Uncle Rico.
What's up?
It's Sunday. I'm supposed to be doing stuff important around the house, but mostly I'm just calling you about things that don't matter what I say, but my opinions, I like to voice them. Anyways, back to the divisions. Yeah, I think we need the divisions
yes.
for rivalries and
Yep.
competition and
I agree.
that sort of thing. And I don't have a problem with better teams sometimes getting edge out of the playoffs. You know, it happens. Get over it. But I do believe that the teams, the division winners, how would I put it? The playoff seeding should be by record. I don't care if you won the division or not. If you're a division winner, you should still be seeded by your record.
I see.
If your record is...
It's an interesting compromise. Division winners get a spot, but the seeding is based on record. Could get behind that, I guess. Why not?
Worse than a team that is, you know what I mean. All the seeding should...
And again, the team that gets edged out is going to have less of an argument. It's going to be a 9-win team. It's going to be easier to complain about a 9-win team not getting in and an 8-win team with the number 4 seed than it is an 8-win team with the 7 seed and a 9-win team saying, hey, that should be me at the 7. So shut up, stupid.
Be by record. The teams with the best record play the teams with the worst record, so on and so forth. I don't care if you won the division or not. But, yeah, I think we definitely need divisions, and we definitely need divisions.
And again, I don't know why this keeps coming up. Can I say this for the 900th time? I don't want the divisions to go away. I don't want anything restructured. I don't want the rivalries to go away. I've never said I wanted any of that. I don't know why that keeps coming up. I'm unsure of that.
Winners, because it creates rivalries and bragging rights and that sort of crap.
Yeah, no, it's all
right,
great.
Then. Rico out.
I love it.
Go Pack Go. You all have a great holiday. It's Sunday before. Is this Memorial Day?
Yeah,
Labor
dude.
Day? One of those days. Memorial, right?
Yep.
Ooh, shoot. Sorry, Ryan. I don't remember what it is, but have fun. Later.
Yeah, so I have not done steaks in forever, mostly because we can't super afford stuff. But I was looking at it and I was like, we're going to do something, and it's roughly the same price, whether we get, this, that, or the other, and it's maybe at like $10 a steak-ish. So if we just get like 4 of them, it's $40, cheaper than going out to eat. Let's just do it. So I got some New York strips, and we're going to do that. My daughter would like me to get eggs, because steak and eggs is her jam, so probably going to do that, and that's what we're going to do. It'll be a good time, hopefully. Hopefully it's going to be good. Every time I make plans, by the way, it's like, oh yeah, the kids have something that they have to do. When are they going to be? Never. They will never be home. Nobody's ever home. I guess that's a good thing, unless you want to do stuff at home. Then it's like, maybe I can book you in a month.
Hey Ryan, Steve up in Alaska.
Yo.
I'm only going to do this one last time, and then I'm going to let the whole thing go about the whole playoff realignment.
I'm with you.
Yak and snaggity. I'm going to come at it from a different angle. I'm not going to talk about why I think it should be the same, but I'm going to talk about what you're thinking, what you're explaining, and why I think it's wrong. Or faulty. I should say faulty.
No, go for it.
Because I think you're basing your whole opinion on the fallacy that better record means better team.
Well, just to be clear. Well, just to go ahead.
We have direct examples in our own Packer history. 2010, we were a mediocre team. We barely got into playoffs. And then we beat all the teams with better records to go win the Super Bowl. The next year, we had the best record in the league. We got to the playoffs, and we were beaten by a 60 that barely got in the playoffs, who went on to win all the games in the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl. So the idea that because a team has a better record, that they're a better team and then they will give us a better performance, it's proven wrong. It's not true at all.
The whole issue with this line of thinking is that, again, a couple different things. Number one, there is a high correlation between record and talent. High correlation. It's not perfect, but a high correlation. There are outliers, but they're just that, they're outliers. The problem is, if the goal is to find the best teams, the division winner is a worse way to find teams than record. The second issue is, how do you win your division? It's based on your record. So the entire thing just completely implodes for two different reasons. It's not true that record 100% correlates to how good of a team you are, but it correlates better than division winner does. And number two, you win your division largely by record. So this entire line of argumentation, I'm not sure I follow it.
You have to earn your way in, and there are steps to earning your way in. The division winners and winning
based on record,
a division, getting you into the playoffs, keeping some other team who didn't win their division out of the playoffs, that's called an obstacle. Obstacles to getting in are what matter. You know, it's not just, let's just make it to easy.
Yeah, and some people's obstacles are a bunch of 6-win teams, and so they get gifted a path to the playoffs because they had no obstacles, and other teams have obstacles, and I guess if we're okay with that, then that's fine. I just think that that's not the way that I would do it.
Listen, whoever has the easiest run can have it. So that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm going to let it go because I believe your idea is just as faulty as the other one that
it is faulty. It's less faulty.
The current one that you disagree with, because you can't base everything on who has the best record being the best teams, because
that's how we determine who wins the division, though.
Judgment thing, and we know it doesn't work. So I'm going to let it go, and I'm not going to call in about it again. We will talk about other things once there are other things to talk about. All right, go Pack.
Yeah. Again, I think we've hit an impasse on this whole issue. I think there are some legitimate things that I've heard that it doesn't move the needle enough, but I can understand it. I can get behind it. I think tradition is probably my favorite of the group. I've heard this line a bunch of times, and again, I don't understand it. Is also seemingly this idea that like sometimes the teams that have bad records are only there because they've had a tougher obstacle, and it's like that is completely opposite. We know that because look at the rest of the teams in their division. They obviously didn't have a difficult obstacle. In fact, they had an easier path to the playoffs and still couldn't get a bunch of wins. So, you know, some arguments I get, some arguments I don't. At the end of the day, again, 3 things. Number 1, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's not going to make that big of a difference. Number 2, it doesn't matter because the NFL hated this idea so much that apparently the Detroit Lions are like, never mind, I'll just retract it because they obviously got zero traction. / the NFL league office contacted them and said, get this off here now or I'm going to kick you in the throat. I don't remember what 3 was anymore. It doesn't super matter. What I know is going to happen, though, is that there's going to be that issue because I guess the reason I'm mostly surprised by this is because every couple years there'd be a team that gets in that shouldn't get in, and everybody complains about it. And by everybody, apparently, I mean only some people, because some people thought that it was perfectly fine. I don't know. But it's going to happen again, and I just wonder if and when that happens, how that debate is going to shake out. Because a lot of times that'll happen, and that's where the NFL is like, okay, we need to change that. Like when there's a big enough uproar. I'm just wondering if there's going to be an uproar and it maybe moves the needle this time, or if there's going to be an uproar and then an immediate pushback by this army of people that apparently disagree with that sentiment. I'm just going to be very interested. I'm going to be more observant, I guess, this time around when it happens. The worst division winner that goes to the playoffs, I'm going to be very interested in the discussion around that, because I thought it was much more one-sided than apparently it is. I mean, it seems to be one-sided, just not in the direction that I thought. But yeah, I'm ready to move off this subject. Good timing, by the way, too, because this week, OTAs, actual interesting things happening. I think we've got, again, some people today that are going to be coming and talking to the media. On Wednesday, I think, is our first media availability day, so we'll get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know exactly the schedule, and I never really know because you're not supposed to get access to some stuff, but then sometimes people take videos of things you're not supposed to see. Sometimes you get a treat, you know, you weren't really expecting it, and oh boy, look at all the goodies we get today. So either way, should be a good week. All right, we are caught up on calls, so if and you're so inclined, get your calls in, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
The tickle fight is over now. The pillow battle's done somehow. We threw our socks across the room, but now let's sweep away the gloom. It's over now, it's over now. Let's hug it out like a silly cow. Moo, 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 we're friends again. Let's giggle like a happy hen. Cluck, 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 no more fight. Everything's gonna be alright. We argued about the purple crayon, who gets to be the mighty dragon. But dragons can share their treasure chest when friendship is what we do best. It's over now, it's over now. Let's hug it out like a silly cow. Moo, 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 we're friends again. Let's giggle like a happy hen. Cluck, 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 no more fight. Everything's gonna be alright. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, scrunch up your face and touch your nose. Bad feelings fly away like bubbles. Pop, 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 no more troubles. It's over now, it's over now. Let's dance around like a goofy cow. Moo, 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 we love each other. Sister, friend, and little brother. La, 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 our hearts are light. Love is what makes everything right. Group hug time, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Love and friendship, if you please. It's over now, it's over now. Let's hug it out like a silly cow. Moo, 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 we're friends again. Let's giggle like a happy hen. Cluck, 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 no more fight. Everything's gonna be alright. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, scrunch up your face and touch your